feared to write, to speak, to associate, and to defend causes that were for the moment unpopular.
You have already said multiple times today that there was no evidence that you found of any criminal wrongdoing. I want you to tell me what criminal statutes you've evaluated.
I have not looked at any.
Well, then how can you possibly tell our fellow citizens that there's no criminal wrongdoing if you don't even know what statutes to look at?
Because I've seen no evidence that anyone consciously...
Well, how would you know what elements of the crime existed? You don't even know what statutes are at play. Was that first initial line of defense that this is just two rogue agents in Ohio? Was that accurate, Commissioner?
Not that I know of.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Of course, that was Congressman Trey Gowdy, angry at a smug, arrogant IRS commissioner. And you heard the end there, at the end of that give and take there, where mostly give, where the commissioner said that, you know, I kind of think that this thing about two rogue, low-level employees in Cincinnati, I kind of think that was a lie. Those weren't his words, but that's basically what he said. It's a troubling story, and it just continues to grow out of control. It's time for our panel, as I say, our grassroots citizen panel. And joining me in the studio is Jordan Bostic. Jordan is the president of Vocalize.com. It's kind of like a Facebook for political people.
Yes,
for politicos.
Political social networking site. People can create news articles, follow other politicos, and just stay connected.
All right, very good. So Vocalize.com. And joining us in the studio here in Southern California, normally Julie Gunlock, we normally have you from our Washington, D.C. studio.
Right.
And you're in Southern California. Great to see you in person.
It's great to be here.
You're a senior fellow with the Independent Women's Forum. What is that exactly?
The IWF is an economic think tank staffed and run entirely by women, and we run or we work on a variety of issues, economic issues.
And
that
I'm
are
sure
important to women.
I'm sure the left dismiss issues.
That's right.
Okay.
Our opinions don't matter to them.
All right. Joining us in the studio, as he did previously, is entertainment attorney, whistleblower attorney, Michael Wilson. Good to see you, Michael.
Good to see you.
Good to see you back on the show. All right, so let's start with what we just saw here. Jordan, what's your take on this? I mean, some say that the longer this goes on, the less interest the public appetite will be. Do you think that this will, do you believe this is resonating with the American people on the Obama White House? That they've lied, that they've held back information. Do you think this is something that resonates come November?
You know, I think some people care more than others, but I think no matter what, the fact that they lost the emails, I don't think any American agrees with that or is willing to buy that.
Yeah.
So I think this is a big mistake, and I think this is an issue that people are going to follow, and at the very least, it proves the corruption that can happen within our government.
Well, let me ask you a quick follow-up question. The millennial demographic, the millennial age group, which you're a member of, by and large they supported President Barack Obama. By and large, they tend to vote Democratic more than Republican. Is this at all, obviously it won't pass the common sense test with them. Are they all paying attention to this story, in your opinion?
You know, right now you have the World Cup going on, and so I think a lot of people are distracted. But when you tell a millennial, hey, our government, the IRS of all agencies, lost the emails in question that could have proven their guilt or innocence, when you tell them that they lost it, they just immediately think, okay, well, that's typical government corruption. Of course, the government lies. So,
you know, what's amazing, Julie, is I mentioned the millennials to Jordan. So, you know, President Obama lost a lot of credibility with that demographic over the NSA spying scandal, the privacy intrusion into our lives.
Yeah.
Now, the very same administration that is prying into our lives can't produce email.
Yeah, and Costigan did not do himself any favors. He looked very defensive. He comes off as unfriendly. He comes off like, you know, he's got something to hide. This reeks of a cover-up. And again, Costigan is not really, you know, a good representative. He's not instilling trustworthiness, and he certainly doesn't look like he's telling the truth to the committee.
Yeah, he looks arrogant and smug.
Oh, yeah, and I think people detect that. And, you know, I agree that, that there's a lot of other things going on, like the World Cup, but this is becoming kind of exciting watching, I have to say.
Do you think that the longer it goes on, as some believe, it will lessen the public appetite, but the public becomes numb to it?
Well, part of the problem is you've got a mainstream media that continues to bury the story. It was on something like A25 in the New York Times. The Washington Post is not putting it on its front cover. The network news shows are not running this story. So that's really troubling, and I think that will contribute to some of the American public not being interested.
Speaking of New York Times, if you missed our Jag off of the day, they didn't put Dinesh D'Souza on there, even though he should be.
Right.
We've covered this, but real quick, Michael, I know you're a whistleblower attorney. I know even though you voted for President Obama, you're troubled by this.
Yeah, it's very troubling. First of all, to label employees as they did in Ohio as rogue employees, that's always like the first line of defense for the defendant. And so, that's kind of scary because they're trying to isolate this conduct within this certain office. What they need to do is start sampling various other offices throughout the nation to show that it was pervasive. This conduct, is systemic within the IRS, and they need a clean house.
Yeah, all right. And this thing just keeps escalating. Now they find out that they terminated a contract with a server company.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, listen, when we come back, we're going to talk about Hillary Clinton. The Democrats loved to ridicule Mitt Romney. You met Mitt Romney at a grocery store. I saw it on Facebook. You guys are waving and saying, just random occurrence. They ridiculed Mitt Romney over his earned wealth. But Hillary says, even though we earn $200,000 per speech and have made over $100 million over an 11-year period, we're kind of struggling over here.
I would love to have that kind of struggle.
We'll talk about that on the other side of the panel. Stay with me. You're watching the Rick Amato Show on One American News.